is the appointment of chairman and vice chairman. These appointments were agreed at the full council meeting on the 23rd of June 2020. And as such, I was appointed chair and Councillor Cheng was appointed vice chair. We move on to item 2. Do we have any apologies, Linda?
Yes, we have apologies from Councillors Gilder, Ramuni, Forer, and I think we should say Councillor McNaught as well, because he's obviously been unable to, he's wanted to join the meeting, but he seems to have been unable.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? No? Okay. Right, can we look at the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee held on the 16th of June 2020? Can we approve those minutes, please, if you're happy with them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty happy with them? Okay.
Yep. Okay.
I'll make arrangements to go into the council offices when they're open again. Do we know when that's going to be, Linda?
We don't know yet.
No, okay. So I can sign those meeting minutes along with the previous meetings as well. So if we move on to item 5, which is the current planning applications. And the first one I have is 201113, which is 123 Loddon Bridge Road, which appears to be side and front fencing. Does anybody have any comments on that? Carol?
Yes, I was concerned not about the sight lines adjacent to Loddon Bridge Road, because it's fairly well set back, but the cars are exiting between 2 walls out into Coniston Close itself, and there was no sort of splay demarked there, and I'm just a bit concerned about whether those cars coming out will be seen by pedestrians well enough. So that was just a comment. It was difficult to tell from the drawing whether it would or it wouldn't, but it was a concern I'd like to raise.
Okay, I saw one issue that there was a small side strip of land by the property, and I wanted to make, I wasn't sure if that was owned by the property or if that was owned by the community. I just wanted to make sure that if it was owned by the community, it wasn't taken into the property.
Yeah. Philip,
yes,
I would like to agree with Carol on her comments. I can see great difficulty getting out of Coniston Road.
Yeah.
With that wall there.
Yes. Yes. All right. Do we have any more comments?
Sorry, can I just ask, is the concern getting out of Coniston Road or getting out of the property onto Coniston Road?
My concern is getting out into Coniston.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mine would be into Loddon Bridge Road from Coniston.
Why can't I?
No, I've had my hand raised. Philip.
Sorry, Keith. I didn't see. I do apologise.
That's all right. I'm not overly worried about the highway side. However, I did through Google Maps look at quite an expanse of Loddon Bridge Road up and down the road to see what the street scene is like. There isn't any, I found one, I think, of a property that's got, you know, the small brick wall with the iron fencing between pillars. And that was quite a small one. So I would be concerned in terms of the street scene. Although having said that, when you do look on Loddon Bridge Road, as I said, up and down both sides of there, you actually see quite an eclectic mixture of walls, fences, hedges. So, you know, there isn't a uniform street scene.
No, that's right.
So I'm sort of in two minds.
So shall we say okay, apart from a few concerns that we have? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. What have you got written down, Linda?
Sorry, just a sec.
Okay.
Right. So the concerns are the cars exiting between the two walls onto, so exiting from the property between those two walls, and whether the vehicles will be seen by pedestrians. Do we also want to mention a concern of actually leaving Coniston, is it Coniston Drive? Coniston,
Yeah,
into,
Coniston.
Constant close, isn't
Coniston Road.
Coniston, that's the problem for me, access to Coniston.
it?
so I'll say both of them. We're concerned
Yeah.
about both of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Wanting to ensure that sorry, you said small strip of land. I'm not quite sure where that is.
There was a small strip of land running alongside of the drive, I do believe, and I couldn't work out if that was part of the property or if that was something else.
Okay, I'll check that up anyway, but just to ensure that that belongs to the property.
If it belongs to the property, fine. If it doesn't, then
Okay,
obviously it's a different issue.
and then what do we want to mention the street scene if it's already a mix of
Well, we
treatment?
can do because there was an application, wasn't there, for Tippins Lane at the end to actually put a fence up, and that was rejected. And it's
Okay,
rejected
so-
because of the street scene and the difficulty is in presumably seeing round the corner. Although this one isn't, although it's probably the same height, it's not the same height in terms of complete fence, because this one's got perforated metal, I think, along the top, so you can
Okay.
actually see through it. So it's not quite so critical.
Can we
Yeah,
not?
but it's out of keeping with the concern that it might be out of keeping with the street, so it different
Yes.
in appearance to the rest of
Yeah.
the treatments
Yes.
along the road. Yeah, okay, all right, I've got those.
Item 2 is 63 Welford Road. And that's a single story rear extension. I didn't see too many issues on this.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am as well.
Everybody else happy with that one?
Yeah,
Okay. Item 3 is 2 Penrose Avenue, which is the application for the proposed erection of 2 3-bedroom semi-detached dwellings with parking and gardens. Now, there was an application for this, I'm not sure if it was last month or the month before, for 1 property, which I think was passed. And now they've decided to try and get 2 in there. So I don't know who's had a chance to look at that, or whether you want me to pull it up, Carol?
Yes, I did look at it. I think 2 meetings ago, and that wasn't too bad. I think we were concerned about pedestrian sightlines, etc. But this now is 2 3-bedroom houses, so there's a lot more being put on the site. The garden has then therefore been split in 2, so they've got small-ish gardens, certainly smaller than the single house would have had. And there's going to be more cars. So I think this is really a backward step, going from 1 detached dwelling to semi-detached.
Okay.
It's going to have an impact on the parking and on the amenity space.
Keith, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I've looked at this, and I believe the footprint of the new building, the 2 semi-detached, is pretty well the same as the footprint of the single building. So whilst I accept what Carol says about the gardens will be smaller inevitably, in terms of the actual building, I don't think it's any different. And I think the way they've arranged the parking there is it's a shared driveway coming in, and instead of having the bigger space, they've got space for 2 cars for each of the semi-detached in front, rather than have a big area for 4. So whilst I really wanted to potentially find an objection on this, I really struggled, and there are no objections on the website on this one.
No.
I think there might be an issue in highways, that we need to make sure that the displays are all right, etc. But I would probably say for me it's okay, but we do need to raise the highways issue, that's got to be comfortable for the highways officers.
Okay, David Bragg?
Yeah, My own concern on that one was the adjacent driveways for the existing building and the semi-detached houses. They're all effectively going to be coming out of the same entrance. And
That's
you
right.
get the,
No, they're not.
you know, I just see one or two problems there if they all want to leave the house at the same time, or
Right.
delivery vehicles.
I had a concern that the building is on a bend, and those three houses, the existing, the two new ones, would share the same drive, which would make it a bit difficult for people to see. And there's a footpath that runs alongside, taking people from the estate up towards the shops, which I think is quite heavily used. It's just, and I'm just concerned about visibility there, because obviously the amount of vehicular traffic is going to be increased by threefold, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm not sure that the two Penrose, i.e. the existing building, shares the same driveway.
I think it
I'm
does.
not sure it does. So that was the case before,
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
right? So how many bedrooms were the previous, the single building bedrooms? What I'm trying to work out on is how many cars. Now, if you assume the two Penrose is going to be the same before and after, how many additional cars are there going to be from the two semi-detached? You see where I'm
Well,
going?
Yes, no, I can
Same.
understand that.
Different.
Yeah.
As far as I can see, there's enough room on the drive for two cars to come out at the same time, one from number 2 and one from the new semis. It's wide.
Carol?
Yes, in answer to Keith's question, from memory, I think that single detached was 4-bedroom, and that was my concern. That was 4-bedroom with two,
Yeah.
maybe 3 cars, whereas this is
2, 3 bedrooms.
certainly 4 cars for 2 houses.
Richard?
Yeah, I think I kind of echoed some of I think Keith's sentiment in that I kind of saw it and went, oh, gosh, that seems. But actually, my big issue really was around the driveway access, and because it's on the bend and there's potentially quite a few cars, and I actually drove past it on the way back from work today because it's around the corner from him. I was quite surprised at the size of the plot, to be truthful. I kind of, my original instinct was, gosh, they're cramming a lot on there, but actually it doesn't seem that unreasonable. I just couldn't quite wrap my head around the parking, and there are, it can get, I think some people park down there on the way to the shops and things like that if they don't want to pay. So I just did think it was a little bit of a concern, but at the same time, I wasn't sure I was passionate enough to object to it either. I think it's for highways to work out whether or not it's sensible, isn't it? And maybe just raise a concern. But, I thought the scheme was quite tasteful and sympathetic and all of those things. So,
Okay. So we're happy with that. So we're happy to say no, just a concern with regards to access and egress and visibility from people passing by and from the drive to people passing by.
Yeah,
Yes,
I am.
happy with that.
Fine with me.
Okay. Next one I've got is 41 Callback, which is erection of a first floor side extension, park garage conversion, and change to some fenestration. I didn't see any issues with that. Does anybody want to discuss that one? Are we happy with that one?
Yeah.
Yes, Keith?
I'm not really discussion, but it's clear that the next door neighbour, the attached, semi-detached, has done exactly this. And so therefore there is a precedent. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get a lot more of this because with people working from home, there's going to be more and more demand for offices and things.
Carol's got a hand up.
Yes, Carol, sorry.
Thank you. We had one not similar to this, but I've got the same comment as I had last time, is what's left of the garage is probably not carable, if that is a word. So to call it a garage, I think, is a misnomer. And I think, if people are going to reshape houses like this, they should be honest about what it's going to be used for. And a garage, it ain't. Well, I suppose for a very small car or motorbike, but it does concern me when the what they're called gets changed.
True. Richard?
Yeah, I mean, I did think about that. I wondered actually, because it does seem like a very big garage, whether it was one of the old show homes on the estate with double length. But I did, it was quite interesting, and something that I think I would encourage other applicants to do. But it did have that proper measurement of the inside of the garage, which I think it said it had 5 meters available. And as a quick Google, the average car size in this country is 4.5. So although cutting it fine, I suppose you could argue you could get a car in there. I think I might agree with Carol though. It's going to be lawnmowers and bicycles more than cars. But I thought that was actually quite interesting. I thought the way that the plan was presented was actually really helpful in that regard, because it let you make that judgment and say, and you know what, that is a car space. I think we'll get one coming up a little bit later on where I did scratch my head on why there was a garage door on it. But yeah, for what it's worth, I thought that was a good application, albeit you know, led me to ask the question and answer it at the same time.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, can I
yes.
just ask then, please? So do we not want to make that comment about the garage if it is large enough to put a car in?
I don't think we need to, do we? No.
It's
No.
not really a planning matter, because within 6 months they'll turn it into a habitable, you know.
Relation,
The big omission in our planning law is there are no constraints. You still got to get planning permission of converting garages into habitable buildings or rooms, and I think there should be a no on that to help, you know, the issue of cars, etc. But
we just have to build some more car parks. Next one I've got is 201425, which is 93 Loddonbridge Road, which is a change of use from an existing home to a solicitor's office. Retrospective, I would have thought a solicitor would have known better. But it appears to me that there's a building at the bottom of the garden, which I'm assuming is going to be used for the office. Look, I don't know, has anybody got any comments to make, or we're just happy to let that one go?
If I remember correctly, Philip, we had this one come up some time ago, and we all thought that it was strange to have a building where it was. I think they did mention it currently being used as a solicitor's office in that application. And I think what they've done is they've used it up to now without actually realizing that they, hadn't got permission.
That's right, I think you're right.
Because they've got to make access to it through the garden, haven't they? Through the back garden.
Yes, look around the side of the house, haven't they? That's right.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yes, but they show enough cars, don't they, on the forecourt to actually accommodate. So as long as they don't have too many customers at a time, then I don't see that there's too much of an issue.
It seems to me it's working at the moment. So, you know, why not make it official?
Yes, okay. So we've got no problems with that?
No.
Okay. So the next one we've got is 39 Wallace Close, which is 201431, which seems to be to do with the drop curb and some hard standing, and modifying the tarmac footpath, which really means the footpath that goes across the pedestrian area is going to be different from the rest of the footpath. Carol?
Yeah, yes, exactly. I was a bit confused by that. One, they needed to extend their tarmac over something that's already there. There was also mention in the application about there being a 3.4 metre dropped curb.
That's right.
To imagine that, but that seems excessive to me. So I didn't know if anybody else had any comments or thoughts on it.
The drop curb, the definition of the drop curb will have been from WBC, the Borough Council, because you've got to get planning permission, and then the highways will agree it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know what the normal drop curb is, but it'll take it down. Highways would not allow anything that is deteriorating, which is damaging. Sorry, the road or anything like that. The other comment I would make is a bit odd extending it down, you know, that so you get a different colour pavement, but
That's
all of us are quite used to that because it won't be long before some utility company will come and dig it all up, and you'll have a patchwork quilt anyway.
That's right.
Mm.
That's right. So do we want to make a comment on that? No, we're happy just to let it ride, are we?
No.
Okay,
got no
so no
objections.
problem with that. 201484, which is 23 Copsemead, and that's a rear study extension and some adjustments to the first floor, but all of that is over the existing footprint of the building.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any issues over that unless anybody
No.
else has. No?
I was
Okay.
just going to say very quickly, Philip, is that they're not adding, or they don't appear to be adding bedrooms. What they've done,
No,
is the bedrooms upstairs will be
can-
deeper.
that's
And
right.
when you compare the front and rear, before and after, there's no change, effectively no
Very
change.
little.
It's
very
from
little.
the side where you see it, but so I absolutely have no objection.
No. Okay. 201492 is 5 Fairwater Drive. This is a single-story front extension.
Oh, yeah.
And this is quite large. It's on a corner plot, and I just thought it was a bit out of character. So I don't know what other people may. Yes, Keith.
Okay, I don't support this at all. It's roughly doubling in size.
Hmm.
It's going to really look odd. And again, I did a Google search going up and down Fairwater Drive, and most of them have, when it comes to the front door, they're either flush with the wall or it's a very small porch.
Hmm.
And I couldn't find anything, apart from one actually, that had that large porch area that's looked as though it was about 10 feet long. To me, that would definitely violate the street scene big time. I'd be concerned that it's doubling in size. So those are the two issues I have, which made me say I don't support it.
Okay, Carol.
Thank you. It was the access, two things, the access over the cycle path. The cycle path isn't mentioned on the planning application, and nowhere else apart from number 3 down Fairwater Drive crosses that cycle path. Number 3 is slightly different to number 5 because it doesn't have a rear service road. It does have a side entrance to its garage, but at the moment it has a big window van parked next to the house, and that does exit over the cycle path. Now, whether or not that would be cited as well, somebody else does it, therefore it's okay. But access over the cycle path concerns me. There's cars parked on the front at the moment. There never has been before. So maybe new people, or they just want it to look as if that's okay. That's what's always happened. But there's no mention of the rear access or what provision there is for parking at the back, which is where everybody does park, either with a garage or otherwise. So I would raise those two issues as well as what Keith raised about the street scene.
Councillor Mills. Dave Mills, did you want to say something?
Far away.
The extension really changes the street scene of the road to the side. It narrows it completely, so you only end up with 3 or 4 feet.
Right, okay.
That's why I objected to it.
So are we minded to suggest refusal?
Yes.
Yes,
We are. Okay. Good. So have you got comments there, Linda?
Actually, before we move off this one as well.
Yeah, surely, Richard.
One of the coming back to the part. I mean, I agree with the street scene. Just I mean, for me, it doesn't work. I think there's ample space for a bit of an extension there, but it just seemed like, you know,
Extension for extension's sake.
maximization. It just I think it doesn't seem unreasonable to say no, that doesn't fit. The thing that again, and coming back to the access to the drive, and I have seen cars on that before. And I couldn't work out how they got onto it, because unless they drove up the pedestrian dropped curb and literally drove down the cycle path a bit and then up onto the driveway, which I kind of felt was, I don't know what the rules on that are, but it didn't feel legit to me. And actually that left me scratching my head going, hang on a minute, is actually this just highlighted some cheeky behavior rather than putting in a planning application? I don't know, whether or not anyone's got experience with that, but I couldn't get my head past it. Once I'd spotted it, that was the thing that just kept jumping on me. How do they get onto that drive, and should they be doing it?
Yep, okay. We happy, Linda?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so my next one is 201495, which is 299 Loddon Bridge Road. This is the house next to the estate agents, I believe.
I think you've missed one out, Philip.
Have I?
200 345. 299 Loddon Bridge Road.
That's the one I'm looking at, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, the number was not the same.
201495.
No.
Jenny, I think the number you've given was the previous application number.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, yes, sorry, there was a previous one, 200 345 or something. Was
That's
that?
what I've written down.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
that was-
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. No, I was going to mention that there was a previous one which refused the application, and the previous one was wanting to extend the height as well. I don't think this one extends the height, but it's still a very large extension. Carol?
Yes, it is a very big extension, and I'm concerned about the massing effect. But I think more importantly is the 6 bedrooms, and therefore however many lots of cars, they're accessing right by that roundabout, right on the corner, as it were. Now, whether or not they're going to drive into the lay-by by the off licence, but they've still got to get out onto the roundabout, and that really concerns me. So it's the massing and access.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything?
Since it, correct me if I'm wrong, this application is slightly smaller than the previous application.
I
If
think it
that's-
is.
Yeah, if that's the case, to be consistent, whether we like it or not, we had no objections something was bigger, and now we're saying we have objections that something is slightly smaller. I must admit, I didn't go into great detail on this when I ran out of time, but so my concern would be a consistency concern, regardless of the merits. How can we approve something that's bigger and then not approve something that's smaller? I just raised that question.
Oakenham Borough Council's refusal was to do with the fact that they'd increase in the height, and they said I think they said something along the lines that the extension hadn't been very well planned or something. So I'm half thinking that they've probably had discussions with the planning officers to actually see what they can actually come up and offer as a new application. So I'm wondering whether or not they've actually discussed it with them already.
Well, they will have done that. Any sensible house owner, if they get a refusal, they will go back, and clearly the planning officers will not guarantee anything, but that it gives that dialogue, because the officers want to have things right first time.
So are we happy to say yes to this one?
Yeah.
Carol's shaking her head.
I'm being consistent. I didn't like it last time.
Well, I don't think so. Yeah. I think it went through on the majority last time, didn't it?
I don't like it.
So maybe you have to go to a vote.
Oh, a vote. Oh dear.
Hands or
Right, well, we'll have to have the electronic hand if you're against the application. Sorry, go on.
I haven't got an electronic hand.
Have you not?
yeah, you're on an iPad.
Oh, does it not work on an iPad?
I've got a laptop and my hand's gone.
On iPad, it's got raised hand.
Yeah, it has. But it's
We've got to get the participants up, Jenny.
Have you got the
participants.
Okay.
Get that up and you'll see raise hand.
No, I haven't got a raised hand. I've never had this before.
Have you got the invite, mute me? Have you got a
I've
list of
got-
everybody who's on the meeting?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so there's normally a raise
Oh,
hand.
raise hand. There's a word instead of a picture. Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't work.
Right, now I've got it.
Hey!
Yeah.
Right, so are we voting for or against? We're voting for the application, are we?
No, I'm not.
So who's voting for the application?
Whoops.
Only two. Who's voting against?
Those voting for need to take down their hands.
I have.
Well,
Yeah,
David and
I've just
Tugger.
taken mine down.
So it appears to me we've got 3 against and 2 for. So on that basis, we
And
must
Richard
be-
didn't vote.
So some people haven't
I'm
voted.
struggling to have an opinion about it, so I think it's only fair that I don't have one, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Oh, come on, you could be, you're the actually casting
If it
vote.
swings it, I'll toss a coin. But no, I just honestly, I'm just torn on it. I looked at this.
Oh,
I remember it coming up last time, and 1 minute I thought it was great, and the next minute I couldn't get my head around it. And I think for me, I'm going to take a tactical abstention.
Well, there's 7 people, there's 7 members here and only 5 have voted. So we're 3-2. So somebody else didn't vote.
No, I didn't
Philip.
vote. I don't have a view. That's the trouble. I'm probably a bit like Richard. I don't like it, but I think because they've probably had discussions with Woodley Borough Council, they've probably redesigned it in a way that it's going to be acceptable.
I think I'm changing my mind. I just don't like it. It doesn't mean that in a planning context, it's not acceptable. So I think, to be fair, I'm going to raise my hand. Is it raised? No.
Are you voting for no objection now, Jenny? Or
I'm now saying it's okay. I'm sorry. Yes, I've changed my mind.
so now we're 2-3. 2 against and 3 with no objections now.
Okay, so I think we need to qualify what we're saying to the planning authorities then with regards to, we're happy with the extension, but we are very concerned that it's still a massing issue that Carol's mentioned, and with regards to the access and the egress from the property close to the roundabout.
Well, we can't say we're happy with the extension and then say we're not happy with the massing effect, can we?
We're not.
What we can, I think Linda's right, but what we can do is say we have highways concerns.
Highways concerns, okay.
So no objection to the extension, but we have highways
Highway-
concerns.
Highways
Yeah,
concerns,
okay.
yes. Okay. Right, we move on to 201497, which is 54 Radcock Close. This is the first floor front extension. And I've just said it's built up over the front, keeping to the existing footprint from the large bedroom with an ensuite. So I didn't see any issues on that.
Yeah.
Does
Which
anybody
one
want
was
to
that?
make it? This is
Which one
201497 54 Radcod Close.
Oh, I haven't got that one.
I had a problem with the building line. It's coming forward, isn't it?
It's coming forward, yes. Well, no, they're keeping to the existing front. So the first floor is coming forward, but it's not coming forward. They're not moving the whole footprint forward. It's just the first floor, from what I could tell.
Oh, I see. I misunderstood then. Okay.
You okay? Okay, the next one I've got is 201508, which is 38 Henleywood Road, but that's an adjoining parish. Do we want to make any comment on that, or do we just gloss over it?
No. It's only a small thing anyway.
It is very small, it's only a front porch. So 201534, 15 Fawcett Close. Which is a part 2-story, single-story side and rear. I struggled to find a garage on this. I think I found it eventually.
I've missed it.
It's just a dotted box on the proposed plot. There's just a dotted box. It's not very clear.
No. Online.
Oh, I see.
I've just said it's a corner plot, but I don't have any issue with the extension as long as the neighbour doesn't have any objections, and I haven't seen any correspondence. Keith?
Actually, there are objections from 11 and 17
Right, okay.
on the system now. A lot of their objections are not planning matters. They're talking about parking and things like that.
Right.
But there were 3 as well. There was one that didn't identify exactly where they were, but they were in Radcott. But certainly number 11 and number 17, and I assume they don't have a 13. My only slight concern is it is quite a large increase in size,
It is, yeah,
but the plot is big.
it is.
You know, it's at the end of the cul-de-sac, so
Yeah.
on balance, I was okay with it.
Mhm. Richard, did I see you wanted to say something?
No, I just think this is the odd garage, isn't it? But I mean, I find myself agreeing with Keith again. It's a big plot, and actually, when you looked at the way that the other houses were adjacent to each other that weren't on the bend, I don't think it was particularly intrusive. And actually, as well, I got the feeling they could probably have asked for something bigger and would have had a decent shout at it. I think they've been quite considerate in the way that it's sort of set back and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't feel it was anything to object to, but a very interesting application nonetheless.
Okay, Carol?
Yeah, just a bit confused because Keith referred to a cul-de-sac, whereas we're talking about Fawcett Crescent. I think there might be some confusion there, but I don't
Oh,
think
sorry. I was thinking of Radcott Close. I apologise.
it doesn't have an impact. I had difficulty with this one because it didn't show what was in front of number 11. It just showed them coming out and where they would do the parking. There's a blank space at number 11. So I'm quite pleased that we've heard from the neighbours because they're the ones that are going to be affected. So I think we should be taking note of, subject to neighbours' comments.
Yeah, I quite agree with that. Yeah. So we've got no problems, but please take into account any comments from the neighbours. Happy with that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
96 Kingfisher Drive, 201554. Now, this is the second application on this, and it was originally refused along the lines that they were building out of the front, which was unusual in that particular street scene. Carol?
I think the reasons refusal remain the same. They're still coming out, and it's totally out of keeping both that street scene or that walkway, which is where you get the impact, and anywhere on the estate. They've not come out forward.
I mean, there's an awful lot of extensions along the back of those properties, but I don't think that one's got one, has it? I wasn't sure. I think I had a quick look, but I didn't think that had a rear extension already, but I might be wrong. Yes, Linda?
Just think, we didn't object to the last application.
No.
It was refused by Wokingham, but we didn't object to
Yeah.
it.
I think the reason for refusal is unchanged. So, although to be consistent, we should say we've got no objection, but in practice, I suppose we should take into account Wokingham Borough's comments. Carol?
I'm not sure that we should say no objection because we are objecting. What's happened before is,
Oh,
about
sorry.
consistency, but we're looking at this one, each one on its own merit. We're looking at this one as is.
Yes.
And I think, we probably needn't use the same comments Woking Borough did, prominent and detracted from the street scene. But I think it certainly has an impact on the street scene, and we ought to make that comment.
Yes, okay. I'm happy to offer refusal. I mean, what does everybody else want to do?
I'm neutral.
Yeah.
I think actually, my instinct was because we said no objection last time, that should ride. But it did sit with me that actually Kingfisher's kind of got quite a nice look to it. And the minute you start letting one person build on the front, you get another person, another person, another person. So I think I'm minded not to accept it. Actually, I think I'd come down on the nose.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to suggest refusal as it doesn't match the existing street scene.
Well, I think it has an impact on the street scene. As well.
Impact on the street scene, yes. Okay.
So not out of character, just because of the impact on the street.
Well, it's probably out of character as well, isn't it? I guess, because if none of the other buildings along there have got front extensions, then it's going to be a little bit out of character as well, perhaps.
Definitely.
Okay, the 116 Selsdon 201556. Now this was approved in 2016. It's large, but this new application isn't too different from the previous one. So I'm just wondering whether or not, because they'd let it go on so long, they wanted to make a few minor changes. They haven't started. I guess they haven't started building it before they started. Yes, Keith.
I think you're on the right lines, because remember, a planning approval only lasts for 5 years, I think it is. And if that was 2016, they're getting close to that 5 years. So
That's right.
I just wonder whether this is just a resubmission, maybe with some minor tweaks, because they haven't started, because they're going to lose the existing planning commission. Although the crazy thing, all they need to do is dig a trench of 1 foot, you know, and they seem to have started their building, and then they can have 150 years to complete it. It's crazy planning law.
Okay, so we're happy to accept this one. Excuse me. Yes.
Okay with me.
201563 53 Rochester. This is a variation to a planning consent. And I've said my comments, it looks to be more of a party wall issue with the neighbour. So I'm assuming that they've made some minor changes, so it doesn't quite come up to the same boundary, and they've pulled some parts of the building back just to avoid hanging over. Yes, Keith.
Sorry. What they've done is there was a little sort of triangular dog leg, very small, and they've just straightened that out when you look at the plans.
Yes.
So what was there before is that little dog leg was further away from the boundary. You know, so it was on the boundary, went in and out, back onto the boundary. It seems stupid. I don't know why they did it that way. All they've done is just straighten that out. So for me, it's a minor issue.
Yeah, I didn't see an issue with it. Are we happy to accept that one? Okay.
Well, so long as it keeps in with the building regs, because you could have problems with the guttering, etc.
Yes, I felt that they'd pulled some of it back just a shade, because I made a comment here that it looks more of a party wall issue on my notes.
But it's not a party wall until it's built. And where's the
That's
guttering
correct.
going? Or
That's
where is the
correct.
guttering going?
Yeah, because I've just said there shouldn't be any overhanging elements into the neighbouring property, but I appreciate that's a building issue more than a planning issue. Okay. All right, so we're happy with that one. Then I've got 330 Headley Road East, which is 201598. Very large side extension, and I said there's a risk of an HMO, but I wasn't sure whether that has an effect on the current footpath which runs alongside, but I think it's probably all right. I have seen it. It's on the bend where Tippins Lane and Headley Road meet. Carol?
I think we should, if it is given conditional approval, there should be some restrictions that could be a separate dwelling, as you say, and I think it should be ancillary to the domestic use of the main building. So
Yes.
it should be conditioned.
Yes. Does anybody object to that? No. Have you got that, Linda? We're happy with it, but providing the extension is not a potential.
Philip?
Yes, David.
Yeah, does anyone know what the building is next door to it? It looks as if it's probably a block of flats, but that extension is going up very close to part of that building.
Oh, three,
It's
four.
quite close. It is quite close. I don't know if I'm not sure if they're apartments or not, actually.
There,
Oh.
there is a block, there is a small block of, if you looked at it, it looks like it's just a normal conventional house.
Hmm.
But, it's got two flats at the bottom, and then you go down the side and there's flats on top.
Hmm.
I think that's the only flats that are on that portion of Headley Road, I think.
Did I see you want to say something, Carol?
No, Keith said it.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So I
I know
think
it
we're
well.
so we're happy with that, subject to the comments we've raised, Linda.
Yeah, so sorry, so we're not going to say it's close to the adjacent building or anything, just back to no objection to the extension, as long as there's a condition saying it should be ancillary to domestic use of the main
That
driveway.
is
Yeah, okay.
that is correct. Yes. Okay. And final one, I think, is 201624, which is 30 Radcott Close. And this is the second application, from what I can tell, and it squares off the rear and converts the garage, plus a few changes to the fenestration. I didn't see any issues with that, but I don't know if anybody else is concerned at all.
Yeah.
There was only one comment on the website, and that was actually one of those rare things, a positive comment,
Oh,
planning application from a neighbour.
probably cost him a meal then, didn't it?
Yeah.
In August, of course.
Of course. Right, okay, so we've got no problems on 30 Radcott Close. Okay.
Well done, Philip.
Right. Right, planning decisions on Appendix 6. Did we want to discuss any of those? I think we were okay on most. I think there was 2 issues where I think they disagreed with us. One was to do with one of the suggestions about raising the height of those 2 properties on Loddon Bridge Road. But apart from that, I don't think there are any particular concerns. Do we need to go through them, or can we take them as read?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 tree preservation orders.
Miss Planning Appeals, Philip.
No, I think you might be looking at the previous minutes.
Oh, yeah, got called like that before. Sorry guys. Wake up.
There's a couple of tree preservation order issues. 2 Windermere Close would lead to prune an oak tree. 19 Welford Road to remove an oak tree and plant a more suitably sized cherry tree. So, which lends us on to item 8, which is cycling in Woodley Working Party. So you should have had a report PC 5/20, which I think Linda set separately. Is that right?
Yeah.
So do we want to make any comments on that at the moment?
There were a
Carol?
couple of, oh, sorry, Carol.
I haven't got any more to add. It was just if anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Okay. Yes, Linda.
Okay, so there are a couple of recommendations which the committee needs to approve
Right.
that the working party wanted to contact Woking Borough Council about.
Okay.
If you got it there, it says recommended at the bottom of the first page.
Just a second.
I got that one.
Right. This is item 6 on the report.
Yeah.
Item 5 on the no 6. Sorry. Town Council makes the following proposal to Woking Borough Council. It says, in view of the increased cycling during the COVID-19 pandemic and the desire to encourage that trend to continue, the off-road cycling provision along Wangels Road should be considered by Woking and Borough Council urgently. The road is not only used by school children, but also by other leisure cyclists accessing Charville Country Park and beyond, and areas beyond. And traffic along Wangels Road often travels very fast, and so any widening of the cycle provision could provide traffic calming measures. That the Town Council asked Warren Borough Council what measures it will take to make use of the statutory instrument number 536, Traffic Orders Procedure Coronavirus Amendment, England Regulations 2020, to set up safer cycling and walking routes, temporary or otherwise. Do you want me to read on, or have you got it in front of you?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to share the screen with you?
I can't find it.
Yesterday.
It's not, it's the separate document, Jenny.
Ah, thank
It was
you.
sent, I sent it by email yesterday.
You should be able to see it now. Hopefully you can see it, can you?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, here it is, yeah.
Tell me when you want to move down. Everybody happy?
Very. I mean, I having cycled down there with my daughter not so long ago. Actually, I think Carol's and the committee have spotted a good opportunity there. It is fairly dicey at the best of times. There is a busy school there, and actually, I mean, I think you get, if you carry on going, that's how you get to what the Land's End used to be.
That's right, yes.
And I mean, I do recall as a younger man potentially cycling there on the way back from the pub, having only had the one pint, I can assure you. But late at night, you know, it's actually quite a dicey road, and why not? There's a great opportunity at the moment to sink some investment into that. So
Yes.
That's my Tappen's worth. I'm very pro cycle path there.
Yes, okay. So are we happy to, Keith?
Yeah, I have an issue with that, with Wangels Road, not because I don't support the concept and the sentiment, but it's because it's not in Woodley, it's in Charville. And I raised this at the meeting, and we really should be sharing that with Charville and making it a joint Charville and Woodley submission. I don't think there would be an issue, but I think it's actually quite rude.
No,
for
I
us
haven't.
to-
I have
Sorry.
minuted that. It does say that we should, as a courtesy, we should tell Charville.
But it's not a courtesy, and we shouldn't be telling a neighbouring authority, albeit a parish, what they should be doing. It's like, would we like Charville to come in and say, do you know what? You've got a shared cycle path and a pedestrian crossing that was put in for children to come. We disagree with that, so we're going to make a submission to WBC to remove that. It is not a courtesy. We shouldn't be telling them. I don't think there's an issue. I absolutely don't think there is an issue. I think they would be fully behind us. But I actually think it's quite rude of a town council trying to impose something on Charleville. So what I would suggest is on that recommendation, which I fully support, I can't stress that enough. I fully support that it's subject to getting an underlying agreement with Charleville Parish Council to submit it. I do not, in the remotest mind, think they would actually say no. We've done the work. We're quite willing to do that, and we just need them to say that's fine and add them to that recommendation. Sorry, but that's what that's what I think we should be doing.
I agree with that, Keith. I agree.
I thought that's what we'd agreed at the meeting, so maybe we could just add something in here that says after we've discussed this with Charlotte, we'll put forward the recommendation or send up to them. I thought that was agreed. Sorry, I didn't read the minutes well enough to see that was or that wasn't. The other thing was that John McNaught has said that the road, half Wangels Copse side of the road is Woodley, and the other half is Charleville. I don't know if anybody knows.
The only part of Wangels Road, because it's Coronation, so it's my ward, which is on the edge of Woodley, the only part is just where you turn right from Denmark Avenue into Wangels. On the left-hand side, there's a nice big house. Yeah. That is the only house that's in Woodley. As soon as you get past, and the school is as well, by the way, once you get past the school, the house is on the right, and the rest of the thing is Charleville, which is probably 2/3 of the total road. So I don't think it negates the fact that we need to get Charleville on board. But I'm sure they're not going to say no. I really don't.
We're stronger if we're together, though. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so if I could just.
Yes, Linda.
So I'll add that comment then. That's for the first part of that recommendation, but the other two, it doesn't apply to the second two.
No.
So
no. It's just the Wangels road bit.
Yeah. So does the committee agree that we should continue with contacting the Borough Council about the other two sections there?
Anybody got any objection?
No.
Linda, we should, for that first one, the Wangels Road, say we agree to submit it to WBC subject to discussion with Charleville. It's not to take it off the table.
Yeah, I've put subject to getting the agreement of Charleville Parish Council. Yeah.
It's a bit like SULV.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Part of it is in Early and part of it's in Woodley, and we work together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then there was a second recommendation a bit lower down that second page. I don't know if you want, shall I read it out?
Yeah.
So the second recommendation was that the Town Council contact Wokingham Borough Council with the following questions. What are the LTP4 proposals for Woodley, with particular reference to cycling and walking? What is the timescale and likelihood of schemes S7 and O11, which are joint schemes between Reading and Wokingham Borough Councils? What's the timescale of those being undertaken? Has Wokingham Borough Council undertaken an assessment of existing cycle paths and walking routes following the criteria used in Reading's LC whip? Oh, there you go, sorry.
So to improve signage for cyclists and walkers, investigated, CL and money, and to recognise the importance of consultation with town and parish councils. That the Cycling in Woodley Working Party would be keen to be part of a forum to discuss cycling and walking provision. Are we all in favour of that?
I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, that's no, I don't think that's an issue.
Okay,
Linda, I think
it's just because I think the LTP4, the Wokingham Borough Council's LTP4, I think will come up for consultation later in the year, I think is what they're hoping to do. Okay. So it was just to give those comments ahead of that, I think.
Yes, Keith?
I'm not going against this. I fully support it. Just a point of information. I've been talking to the senior officer, highways officer, after a resident's raised an issue, and the response, and I will circulate the relevant piece of the response, but you know, they had that first tranche of government money that's been spent in Wokingham, as we know, but they're now putting a bid in for the second tranche, and I was asked on behalf of Woodley, etc., that we should make recommendations. So what I'll do is I'll extract that piece, because there were other stuff in there which is relevant. I'll extract that piece and circulate it. I'll pass it to you, Linda, to circulate around at least the cycling group, possibly more. So we are actually potentially in at the ground floor, rather than complaining about you're spending all your money on Wokingham.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, right. Item 10, Reading Borough Council Transport Strategy. This is where we've got to look at and decide if we want to respond by the 30th of August. So where are we on this at the moment? Carol, you were doing some bits, I think, on the cycling side, weren't you?
Yes, we've done that on within the cycling working party. That's where those comments have come in from.
If I can say, it's Appendix A of that working party report that we're just looking at.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
on Appendix A is what our response as a working party to the cycling bit of the Borough Council's transport plan. It just leaves the rest of the plan, non-cycling if you like, to be commented on by the planning committee.
Right. So do we need someone to look at that?
It's 176 pages long.
Who can't sleep at night?
I was just wondering if I'm quite happy to try and don't make a start and then ask for individuals to take portions, because it's quite well documented. Like you've got public transport and you've got cycling and you've got various other bits and pieces. I'm quite happy to have a stab over the next few days to pull those out and look for individuals, because I think if each one of us took a portion, I think we can do a really, really good job. The cycling one will be done well because there's a working party on it, but the rest of it, it really does need all of us to pick up a piece. If the group is happy with that, I'm more than happy to do it.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a look at it, and I'd like to keep it. It's a serious document, and there's a lot of marketing in it. That it's not content heavy. It's and I mean, it's the amount of times you hear what a world-class bus service that Reading buses provide. I'm sat there thinking, but it's dirty, expensive, and late. What? So yeah, I mean, I came up with a few things, but the things that I came up with were all personal comments. You couldn't put them as the council, and I think that's a good suggestion. I'd support that, and I'll happily take on a bit. But you probably keep me away from buses, because it turns out I get quite annoyed about them. So yeah.
Have you ever met Tony Page?
I have had the pleasure.
So you can understand why it's content free.
Yeah.
Carol?
Yes, having gone through the document for the cycling side of things, I think one of the values of getting from that consultation, a lot of it doesn't impact Woodley, a huge amount anyway,
No.
but it raised questions for me of things that we should be asking Wokingham about their transport strategy, because I think there were some really good ideas that came out of that could, and that was some of the questions I've raised with Woking Borough, the working group raised. So it's useful for two things, a document in itself, but mainly because I think they've done a good job, and it just raises some interesting questions that can be considered when we are consulted on LPP4.
Okay, seems fair enough. Okay. So
Can I just clarify then? Is this going to be deferred until the next meeting for the main transport strategy?
Well, Keith is going to have a look and then separate the report out so that we can all feed back to the next meeting
Yeah. So,
with some
but
comments
that's the
before
last
we then put the whole thing together.
Yeah, so that will be the last opportunity. So
Yes.
we have to respond by the 30th of August.
Yes.
So the cycling and walking infrastructure plan has been done, and it's just the remainder will be deferred till the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 11, local green space designations. I seem to remember we've had 2 additions to our spreadsheet, haven't we?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm struggling to find the document.
Came through on email.
Right, okay, sorry. I've got so many documents here that
Yeah.
I can read them out to you if you would like me to, the 2 suggestions that we've had.
can you see them?
Yep.
So you've got one, which is the open area in Wingate Road. And the public is saying it provides natural space as a break in the urban environment and provides a good outlook for the residents of Wingate Road. Also, it's near to Woodley Town Centre, which has many flats without gardens. So that's fairly reasonable. And the second is the green space at the junction of Catalina Close and Mohawk Way. It creates a green buffer zone between the new developments of Loddon Park and Monitor Way and the original airfield development. Can't quite picture that, but so are we happy to add those onto our existing list? And have we got anything else we need to consider?
Could I make just a comment?
Is that Carol?
Yes, it is.
Sorry, I can hear a voice and I can't see.
I fully support number 1, the Wingate Road. People have been out, well, they've always been out there playing football and everything, but during the lockdown, they've been having picnics and all sorts. So I think
Right.
that's a fine example of a very good option.
Good.
I'm sort of side with you on the green space next to Junction Catalina Close, but I'm not going to say no to anything that says let's have more green space. So that was just a comment really on both of those.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm quite happy to support them. Is everybody happy that we add them onto the, yes, Keith?
Yeah, just there was a document, I don't know how many people have read it. I've only started reading it the last couple of days, that came with this, which is a topic paper for local green space. And it's got a definite template for anything you nominate. It's a question you can't just sort of say, we nominate field X.
Right.
You've got to give a site size, a description, is it, et cetera, et cetera. So my concern is we've got all these, which I don't have a problem with, but we're not providing it in the format that they're looking for. And if they're going to get this from all over the borough, they could get hundreds and hundreds, and it might put us on the back foot if we don't do it as per the template. It's just,
Okay.
We could wing it, run the risk, but a risk of it just being binned, or we might be able to I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Okay, so do we have the facilities to complete their templates?
Philip, can I come in there? Last meeting, I put together a table with all the criteria across the top and then each of the suggested NGSs down.
That's correct.
Y-axis. I can't see that that's anything different from a template. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure with they can work it out. And I think all we need to do is to add those two. If there is some debate about what criteria they they meet, I'd be happy to have a discussion about that. But we've already got our own table, and I think it probably goes a step further than the template. So I think we should stick with that.
Can I come back on that? The table is X. So, you know, you put, does it satisfy A and B, X? What they're looking for. So, you know, for instance, I'm just looking at Elmsfield here. And it says, does the site have a particular local significance? Can the site be shown to be demonstrably special to a local community? And then there's a whole load of text saying the site holds recreation value in the form of provision for children's and blah, blah, blah. Site has relatively low tranquility. The site's been improved, blah, 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 blah. So there's text in the template, which is what we're missing. What you're saying is the chart, the table, just has an X.
No, I did send, I think I sent you our submission when I sent those suggestions. So I did actually write it. I included that chart, but I actually provided text under each of the suggestions that we made. I mean, you may say there wasn't sufficient text, but I mean, everything that was said in the meeting, I put into the submission.
For all, what, 20 or 30 of them? There's
16, I think, or 15.
Well, 17 now. 17 now. Okay.
I need someone to tell me what to say for the 2 new suggestions, though.
I'm trying to maximise our chances of getting it improved, and I don't want to give WBC any leeway to say you didn't put it in the template. You know, we don't know the answer to this one. Why?
Okay, what do we think overall?
Philip?
Carol?
I'm always averse to being told how to make comments, etc. with a template, but if it is, so be it. I'd be happy to take that on board and convert what we've already said, as I wrote it in the first place, convert it to this wonderful template from Woking Borough, if that helps.
Okay, all right.
In point of fact, Phillips, sorry.
Yes, David.
In point of fact, if you read Linda's email when she sent over all this, 13th of July, the first item is the LGS submission document, and that goes through the spreadsheet that Carol kindly prepared, detailing information about every item. I would have thought that falls in line with what Wokingham looking for.
Can I be a little bit controversial? How many people have actually looked at the template? Carol has, I have. Now, be honest, I'm not going to, hold it against you. You haven't seen that template. Linda probably has, and I'm just concerned that it doesn't marry up. That's all.
It's very wordy, isn't it? Yeah. Very, very wordy, the template. Yeah. So
I'm happy to go ahead and leave it as is, but I'm just saying there is a risk that if we haven't completed things in a comprehensive manner, so for instance, we won't have put the sizes in because none of us will know.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, I'm thinking if Carol was prepared to spend some time and effort on completing the template, and I think that we should support her as much as we can. Linda.
Can I say, I did this. The document I sent around was the submission that we made after the last meeting, and then I was asked if I could request a time extension to give us time to consult with members of the public, which is what we did. So, right. So this submission, our original submission has already been made. It could be amended. I mean, if you think it could be improved, I can improve it. And then do you want to add those 2 suggestions made by members of the public in whatever form you want to do?
Okay, I think, yes, we do want to add them.
Okay, we need to reply to this by the end of this week because we have been given almost 4 weeks time extension. So. Sorry,
yes, Carol.
Yeah, I think that I'm happy to do it, but I don't think I can, not with my workload, I don't think I can do it in that time. We've got 2 borough councillors at this meeting. I'm sure they could ask if what we've submitted already is okay, or whether it needs to be put into a different format. If it does, then that will be done in the next week or so.
We've already been given a time extension until the end of this week,
Yes, well,
which is already a month over what the original.
Can I suggest I just raise as a risk? Why don't we just move on and leave it as is? Linda, I'm sure you've done I must admit, I haven't. I'll own up. I haven't looked at your submission. Apology. Well, with all the documents to read,
Yeah.
it's not easy. So I just wanted to raise that there was a potential risk. I think let's move on.
So
So I think we just need someone to change the existing sheet we've got to add on those 2 other locations. So Linda, Carol, can you just liaise and to do that between you and then submit it as it is, and then we'll rely on Keith and Jenny to try to persuade the Borough Council that as submitted is fine.
I'll send Linda the comments that could go along with the 2 new ones tomorrow.
Okay, that's excellent. Well done. Thank you, Carol. Thank you for doing that. Okay, is there anything else we need to say on the local green space, or
We want more.
we want more? Okay, we'll move on to item 12, which is just with regards to the application for a street trading license. This is to do with a coffee car in Woodley Town Centre, which I think Linda circulated outside of the meeting. I don't think anybody objected to.
I think he was out there the other day, wasn't he?
I think it was, yeah. Item 13 is this proposed telecommunications installation in Mohawk Way. I think Carol was suggesting it'd be nice if it blended into the background, but I have a feeling that unless you put a projection onto it to change it from blue sky to grey cloud from time to time, it's so high it's not going to be able to do that.
Yes. Philip, yeah. I would go slightly further than Carol and say it would be better if it vanished into the background.
Yeah.
Well, the answer is to build, have planning approval for a building that's 15 stories high immediately behind it. Then you'd be too worried about the building rather than the mouse.
Yeah. I don't know. We have much to say on these things these days. I think it's the government is saying what we've got to do, and we just have to try and put them in the most unobtrusive positions that we can, where they're going to work. Otherwise, we'll end up putting 2 down when we only need 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 14 is the speed limit review, and there is a separate document on that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah, got to find it.
It's about half a sheet of A4.
Sure.
It's on the screen now, I think. Can you see it on the screen? I don't know what it's like on an iPad, whether you can see this document or not.
Yeah, and we can see all the punctuation.
Right, so draft response regarding the speed limit review. Consideration to reducing the speed along Bader Way from 60 to 40. The limit currently changes from 60 to 30 as the road enters Woodley, resulting in many drivers not reducing their speed sufficiently. I think it would help if the speed limit sign as you come off the roundabout and go onto Bader Way wasn't covered in bracken as well. A reduced speed limit along 40 along Bader Way would make it more likely the limit of 30 on entering Woodley would be observed. And we also felt that in some areas the speed limit did not need to be reviewed, but perhaps some signage was enforced to remind people what it actually is. And there are Reading Road, Western Avenue, Tippins Lane and Mohawk Way, where a large proportion of vehicles currently already exceed the 30 mile an hour, according to our Speedwatch reports. And we ask that consideration be given to erecting appropriate signage along those roads to remind drivers what the speed limit is. Are we happy with that? Do we think we need to add anything else?
I'd just like to add a piece of realism on number 1. No, it's not. The reality is a reduced speed limit of 40 miles an hour would not make the limit 30. Nobody will do that. You know, it's a main thoroughfare, and during peak hours, I would like to be able to do 40 miles an hour down there, just because of all the queues. But having said that, we still should try.
I think the biggest problem I see is actually coming from the motorway into Woodley, not the other way around. That's where I see the biggest speed issue. I don't know if anybody else has the same feeling.
I mean, Philip.
Yes, David.
Yeah, we're looking at the main roads here, but what about the housing estates where we got old, vulnerable people and children and mums and prams and what have you?
It's the rat runs, isn't it? Like Foster's Lane and places like that.
Looking at reducing the speed limit on those roads to 20.
I think from what I understand, the police find 20 mile an hour is unenforceable. I think that's one of the problems.
No, Philip, that's not the case. Is that the Association of Chief Constables, who set the rules for all the police areas up and down the country, a long time ago, and they haven't changed it. They decreed that any 20 mile an hour speed limit had to be self-enforcing, because they would not do anything to try and enforce it. And by self-enforcing, you know, you either have a road that's got loads of squiggles, so you couldn't do more than 20, or you put in speed limiting devices like road humps and what have you. And the most successful 20 mile an hour have been in a city where you can't do more than 20 miles anyway an hour. So that's, sorry, I just wanted to correct you.
Okay, right. Carol?
Yes, it's on item 1. I think the chances of anybody reducing their speed along there when they're coming in, because it is quite an open and fast road. I think it would be better to be a bit more sort of think outside the box, because you could have what I would call a gateway to Woodley. So you could have stuff, infrastructure on either side of the road that now appears to narrow the road. So welcome to Woodley, slow down, or even have the road painted a different colour. So there are other ways of reducing the speed. The hope of actually policing with a small p, that reduction, I think, is cow cuckoo land. So I'd rather see some other ways of reducing speed.
Yes, I'm not sure what you could do. I'm not sure whether or not painting the road red actually makes a lot of difference, does it? I mean, it gives people a warning that there's something ahead, but I'm not sure it actually forces people to slow down. You could put, I suppose we could try and argue, put some white lines as a box there, because it sounds a bit like a rumble type strip then, doesn't it? Which might have an effect of slowing people down a little bit.
We could reword that, saying we have concerns about the speed limit changing from 60 mile an hour to 30 mile an hour. Could Wokingham Highways look at alternative methods, picking up Carol's point, without actually saying what those alternative methods are? They're the experts, not us.
Yeah.
Alternative methods of helping that reduction.
Okay, that seems reasonable to me. What does everybody else think?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? Did you get that, Linda?
Yeah. So completely change the wording of that item 1.
Yeah.
To what Keith just said.
Yes. You're okay with that?
Yeah, we have concerns about the speed limit change from 60 to 30.
Yeah.
So WBC Highways look at alternative ways of helping that reduction.
Excellent. Well
to
done.
be observed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess that can be sent then.
And then item 2, just leave as it is. You're happy with that one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Item 15 is publications information, some of which I think has been sent through by email, and some I think has come through the door.
Yeah.
So it's just to note
Yeah.
that. Future agenda items? Anything? No.
No.
Publicity and website. Did the two additional green space comments come through the website, or?
Well, I think they came from, well, one of them was from Facebook, but I mean, when they're on the website, they're sort of
Oh,
on
that's
social
fine,
media.
yeah.
So, but that is where they came from. Yeah.
Okay, so that worked to a point. Okay. Does anything need to go onto the website this time? No? Okay. Enforcement issues. Right. It's just that one, is it?
Yeah.
Which is snagging issues prior to handover of Loddon Park Perimeter Road.
What, Linda, is that in progress or closed or what? Do you know?
No, that's in progress. But well, I haven't been notified that it's closed. That was the only notification, new
Okay,
notification
fine.
that was on the spreadsheet. So I assume it's not closed
It
yet.
might be, so you're doing transfer of data from what you've been given into, it might be if you can just put a code or something, in progress or.
No,
just-
no. Well, generally I put two lists, so enforcement notifications and then enforcement closures. Is that we didn't have
Okay,
any
fine,
closures.
no, that's fine. I didn't.
Sorry, it's misleading because we didn't have any closures this
So
month.
maybe you need to put enforcement
No closure.
closes, none.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do.
Then,
Yeah,
then old
noted.
people like me will understand.
No, I'll do. That's a good point.
Right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So I declare the meeting closed.
Well
Thank you
done,
for your
Philip.
time.
Well done, Philip.
Yep, well done indeed.
My
Thanks.
screen sharing's getting a bit better, isn't it?
Sorry to leave. I was my cat was about to make her appearance, so I just
All
thought.
right. Is it
I think we've got
X-ray?
to stay. Philip, you've got to keep the meeting going until we see the cat.
Oh, have I?
See the posterior of the cat.